Hey guys, Hamsterwheel here with a new video and welcome to episode 7 of Gearing for Dungeoneering. Today we're going to tackle a class and spec that wields the light and smacks it in people's faces with a big ass two-hander. Yes, I'm talking about the Retribution Paladin. So let's see what we can do in terms of gearing up your Retribution Paladin. So right now this particular Retribution Paladin is looking a little sorry for itself, with lackluster damage and attack power, very little hit rating, and overall just not really impressive in terms of gear. When we put it to the test, it pulls out a painfully mediocre 336.1 DPS, so there's definitely some room for improvement. Fear not though, because we're going to address this right now. So let's once again work our magic, and there we go. That's much better. So what items did I decide to get for this Retribution Paladin? Well, let's check it out. Alright, starting off with the headpiece, and we're going to go with a staple of the series, the Helmet of Second Sight, as always, because it's just so damn good. This one has 22 stamina, 29 strength, 3 sockets, a socket bonus of 4 strength, 13 hit rating, and 24 crit rating. Now, as you can see, I thought when I initially started making this guide for the Retribution Paladin, I thought I would have to look for items with strength, stamina, intellect, and spell damage, because I thought initially that would be really good for Retribution Paladins. Turns out that Retribution Paladins actually benefit a lot from just strength, hits, crit rating, and all that. So the items in this episode are going to be very similar to the Warrior ones. So I pretty much almost had to copy-paste everything from the Warrior one, just because those items are just really damn good for the Retribution Paladin as well. That is what I recommend in terms of the headpiece. However, just like all the other ones, you do need a flying mount to complete the last part of this quest to get this helmet. And if you don't have a flying mount or a warlock to summon you over there, you can go for an alternative, which is this, the ash-covered helm. 42 stamina, 28 strength, 27 crit rating. So definitely not as good, but then again also very easy to obtain. Don't need a flying mount, don't need a warlock. And the quest itself is pretty damn easy to complete, so you can do it on your own. So that is a much cheaper and much more simple alternative than the Helmet of Second Sight. The necklace is going to be the Chain of Glowing Tendrils, 18 strength, 17 agility, and 25 stamina. A very simple necklace in terms of offensive stats, or just stats in general. Nothing super fancy, doesn't have a proc, doesn't have any hit rating or crit rating, but it will still get the job done. And it's a great addition to your gear, and a good replacement for whatever you had when you stroll into Outlands. So it does require maybe 1 or 2 friends to complete this, but the question itself is pretty short, so I definitely recommend you do this for your Retribution Paladin. Next up, the shoulders, which are the Overmaster shoulders. 12 stamina, 30 strength, 16 crit rating, and 8 hit rating. Now, yes, these are definitely not the prettiest shoulders, but look at the stats. I mean, the stats are pretty damn nice. 30 strength, that means 60 attack power, 16 crit, and 8 hit rating. Basically, it has a little bit of everything you want. I mean, a little bit of intellect would have been nice as well for our mana pool, but you can't have it all. And this is a pretty damn nice addition to your Paladin, if I say so myself. The cloak is going to be the Nomad's Woven Cloak, 14 strength, 14 agility, 21 stamina, and 13 hit rating. Pretty damn nice cloak, a little bit of hit rating, which is also a welcome sight for our pretty new Paladin. And the quest itself is not too hard. It takes place in Nagrand, and it's part of a 2-part quest chain. It's also fairly popular, a lot of people do it, so finding 1 or 2 friends to complete it shouldn't be too hard. So considering how much it gives you and how little time you have to spend getting this item, I'd say it's definitely a no-brainer and a good addition to your gear. Then we have the chest piece, which is the Torn Heart Family Tunic. 39 strength, 24 stamina, and 21 crit rating. So a lot of strength, which is great. A lot more attack power for your Paladin. A little bit of stamina, a little bit of crit rating, always a welcome sight. And for a green item, I definitely think it offers a lot. However, this is part of the Cipher of Damnation quest chain. Yep, we're back again. So I'm going to offer you guys an alternative for this. And that alternative is the Battle Master's Breastplate. A blue chest piece with 21 agility, 38 strength, and 22 stamina. So very basic in terms of stats, but still pretty damn good. Offers you a lot of extra attack power, a little bit of crit rating, and a fair amount of stamina. So definitely a good alternative if the Torn Heart Family Tunic, if either you don't want to do that quest chain, or it's simply not out yet on your server. Next up, the bracers, which have 14 strength, 21 stamina, 14 crit rating, and 13 hit rating. Pretty damn nice. Offer you a little bit of everything. A little bit of mana would be nice, but you know what? It's pretty damn good for what it is, and not too hard to obtain. So that's what I definitely recommend for the bracers. Okay, and for the weapon, I'm going to recommend the Torn Heart Axe of Battle. 27 stamina, 30 strength, 30 intellect, 17 crit rating, and 17 spell crit rating. So a little odd in terms of stats, but still pretty damn good. It has 87.3 DPS and a 3.3 attack speed. So pretty damn nice for a blue axe that you can get through questing. Unfortunately, this is also part of the Cipher of Damnation quest chain, so I am going to offer you guys a few alternatives. Starting with the Honed Void Axe, which is an axe with 31 strength, 45 stamina, and 30 agility. So not as fancy in terms of stats, but it's much easier to obtain, as this is part of the Ring of Blood quest chain, which I talked about before. It's fairly easy to complete. Yes, it needs a group, but most people are doing it. So definitely worth your time when the Cipher of Damnation quest isn't out yet. This is a great alternative. Now I'm going to give you guys two more alternatives, which are both from the auction house. First one is the Crystal Forge War Axe, 50 stamina, 27 crit rating, and 80 attack power. I've mentioned this in my hunter guide, so I'm going to mention it again because it is a pretty good axe for what it is. Nothing super fancy, but it offers a lot of stamina, which is nice, you know, a bit of crit rating, and 80 attack power, so definitely not too shabby for a level 70 fresh Paladin. So nice addition to your gear. Like I said, it's part of the auction house, so you're going to have to check the auction house and see if it's cheap enough. If it is, then this can definitely be a decent alternative for your Paladin. And the other one is the Oath Keeper. 35 strength, 32 intellect, 24 stamina, and 26 hit rating. So also a pretty nice weapon. It also has a little bit more DPS than the axe. So definitely a great addition. This does offer you a little bit of intellect, which is nice. And it also offers you hit instead of crit or spell crit like the other axe. So definitely a great addition to your gear as well. But you know, again, it's part of the auction house, so you can check either weapons. If one of them are cheap, definitely pick up one of these or the other one. So there you go. That's what I would recommend in terms of the weapons. Now, in terms of Librams, there wasn't really a whole lot of choice out there. I could really only find one that was definitely worth your time when it comes to questing, which is the Libram of Righteous Power. It increases the damage dealt by Crusader Strike by 36. Definitely not too shabby, great addition. It is a fairly lengthy quest chain though, but I'd say it's worth picking up because one, Librams are very scarce in Burning Crusade, and two, the amount of Librams that drop in dungeons in general is also very small, so it might just be worth doing this and getting that extra boost for your Crusader Strike. However, there is one more alternative I'm going to recommend, and that is the Libram of Fervor, which increases the melee attack power bonus of your Seal of the Crusader by 48, and the holy damage increase of your Judgment of the Crusader by 33. So a pretty decent Libram, which is level 60, but it's still, you know, at level 70, it is still pretty decent for what it is, especially, you know, considering how scarce Librams are in the Burning Crusade when it comes to dungeons and questing. So this is a BOE, so you're gonna have to check the auction house. Usually they're not too expensive, so it might just be worth picking up compared to the other one, which might take you a fair bit of time to complete. But I'll leave you to decide which one you want. Both are pretty decent for your Paladin. Then we're going to move on to the Trinkets, two familiar ones. First of all, the Blade Fist Breath, 26 passive crit rating, and when you use it, you get 200 attack power for 15 seconds, and it has a 1.5 minute cooldown. So great addition to your Paladin. 200 attack power for 15 seconds is nothing to laugh about, and it's pretty easy to obtain. Yes, the quest chain is a little lengthy, but it's one that most people do when they're doing outline content, so it should be very easy to complete and find a few friends to get that last quest done. Then we move on to another familiar one, the Core of Arkelos, which increases your attack power by 52, that's a passive, and then when you use it, you get 200 attack power for 20 seconds, so a little longer, but it also has a longer cooldown, which is 2 minutes, but you know, still a trinket that is worth your time. It's also a fairly easy quest chain. You can do all the quests yourself, so easily soloable, and you get a pretty nice trinket in return. Next up, the rings. First one is the Spellword's Mark of the Redemption with 9 intellect, 23 strength, 12 agility, and 18 damage and healing. So there you go. That is our first damage and healing item on our Retribution Paladin. I decided to go with this one because it offers a lot of strength, a little bit of mana, and, you know, while that damage and healing is not ideal, it is still pretty decent when it comes to, you know, judgment damage and maybe consecration or whatever you're going to use in your rotation, depending on the situation. But definitely a ring worth getting. It is a little lengthy. You might need a few friends for this, but still definitely worth your time, and it is a great addition to your gear. And then next up is the Ogre Slayer's Band. Now, in terms of stat, this is much more simple. It just has strength, agility, and stamina. 17 strength, 16 agility, and 25 stamina. So very basic, but very effective too. And it's also not too hard to obtain. You're going to need probably 1 or 2 more to complete the quest in Nagrand. But it's fairly short, and well, considering what you get back for it, I'd say it's definitely worth your time and a good addition to your gear. Next up, the boots, which are the studded green ankle wraps, which have 30 strength, 12 agility, 13 stamina, 8 hit rating, and 8 dodge rating. Now, yes, these are leather boots, so there's definitely, it's definitely not ideal. However, I decided to get these because, one, they're fairly easy to get. You can also get them pretty early on in Hellfire Peninsula, so that is definitely a plus. And despite them being leather, I mean, just look at the stats. It offers 30 strength and 8 hit rating, and a little bit of agility, stamina, and dodge rating. So all in all, great boots to get that don't require a whole lot of time. So a lot of bang for a buck, basically. So that's why I still had to put them in. Yes, they're suboptimal because of leather, but they're still pretty damn good for your Paladin. Next up, the leggings, which are the mid-realm leggings. 39 strength, 16 stamina, 21 crit rating, and 10 hit rating. Now, these leggings aren't super fancy, and they're still green, but you know what? For green leggings, they do offer a lot of attack power, crit, and a bit of hit. So I'd say these are definitely worth getting. They're also not super hard to obtain. So a wise choice if you ask me when it comes to getting legs for your Retribution Paladin. Next up is the belt, which is the Borax Belt of Bravery. 26 strength, 26 agility, 24 stamina. So very basic but effective belt. However, this is part of the Cipher of Damnation quest chain, so this might not be out on your server yet. Which, if that's the case, I do have an alternative for you guys. And that is the engraved Cattleman's Buckle. 21 strength, 30 stamina, 10 hit rating, and 15 crit rating. So in terms of offensive stats, it's not as good. However, this does offer a bit of hit rating compared to the Borax Belt, which doesn't. So, it's easier to get. It gives a little bit more hit rating, so there's a downside and good side to both of them. Then again, both are pretty good for your Paladin, so it really comes down to what you want. You can get the Borax Belt of Bravery. If it's not out yet or you just don't want to do that question, you can still get this. This is a pretty decent alternative. And then last but not least, we got the White Knuckle Gauntlets. 28 strength, 16 agility, 16 stamina. So again, a very basic item in terms of stats, but still very effective. And that's actually a lot of strength for green gauntlets. 28 strength, so definitely not too shabby for your Paladin. It'll offer you a lot of extra attack power, which is always a welcome sight. And that's pretty much the gear I would recommend you to get for your Retribution Paladin. So after all those gear upgrades, our Paladin got a big boost in terms of damage, attack power, and crit chance. Hit chance also went up, and the only thing that went down a little bit was weapon speed. Now all those stats are nice and all, but what does that mean for our DPS? Well, first it was only 336.1 DPS, and now it's a much better 468.5 DPS, which is an increase of 39.39%. Now 468.5 DPS isn't super impressive, but it's decent enough for level 70 dungeons, and keep in mind that the Retribution Paladin is a class/spec that benefits greatly from more gear and buffs. So if put in a group with, let's say, a Feral Druid who can give him Mark of the Wild and Leader of the Pack, he should be able to do 500 DPS no problem, let alone a Shaman with Wind Fury who will make him do even more damage. So I'd say mission accomplished for now. And that's all for now. I want to thank you for watching this video. I'm Hamsterwheel, and have a good one.